Well, Scotland, thank you for coming today. I'm glad you were able to put us on your day's agenda of things to do. What did people tell you about what you would be doing today?
Um, Usually I just be sitting at home.
That would be if you weren't coming here. But what did they tell you you were going to do when you came here today?
That you're just gonna ask me questions and I'd answer them.
Cool. Well, then we appreciate your cooperation on that. Actually, we're going to let you answer some questions on the computer, an inventory that just asks choices. And they're choices between one good thing and another good thing. So, like you might say, do you like ice cream that's chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? And it wouldn't matter whether you said chocolate or it wouldn't matter whether you said vanilla. Both answers could be good, but you would pick which one you would prefer the most. Okay?
Okay.
Sometimes when you're answering the questions, you're going to come across a question and you'll go, oh, I like both of those. I don't know which one I'd pick. If you run into that issue, then all you say to yourself is, if I have to choose between chocolate and vanilla, which one would I go for first? What would I like to do first? So if there's a question where you like both choices, ask yourself which one you'd like to do first. Okay? Again, all answers are good, so you can't say anything that's not good. When we're all done with that, we'll score them and come back and then talk about what all those results mean in terms of your personality type, what you like to do, how you like to look at information, and how you like to form relationships. But it's not going to tell me how smart you are. And it's not going to tell me about any special talents you have. So you might be a wonderful musician, or you might be an actress or anything like that, but it won't tell us about those parts. But it will tell us what is normal and natural and good about the way you look at information and the way you look at relationships. Okay?
Okay.
You know how when you have report cards, it's your grade and you've earned it and it only belongs to you? And if you want to tell anybody else what your grade is, you can. But your parents always have a right to see your grades, right?
Yes.
Yes, because you're still a child. Well, the same thing is true here. That it's your personality, your choices, whatever you decide is right for you will be the correct answer. But if your parents want to see it after we're all done and you've decided what is true for you, then they would get a chance to see that too. Okay? I just wanted you to know that ahead of time. So there's about 53 questions that you'll answer on the computer. And then after we're done with that, we'll come back here and look at all of the results and see how they report for what you believe is most accurate and true about you. Okay? Any questions you have?
No.
All righty, cool. So let's go ahead then and go to the computer and take the instrument.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Scotland, welcome back. You took the questionnaire on the computer. Were there any questions there that you thought were really cool or that were hard for you to answer? Or
There's one that I found pretty neat.
what was that?
I can't remember it. It was like, do you, like, on bike rides, would you rather go on, like, one that you know already or just ride around?
Yeah. But you kind of like that question?
Yeah.
Was it easy to decide your answer for that one?
It was.
Okay, cool. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to look at your results from answering those questions. But before we do that, we're going to go through some activities in the workbook. Okay? So this will be yours to keep at the end of the program. But in the meantime, you'll have to do a little bit of drawing in them. Let's go ahead and open up to page 2 and just look at some information to start. Okay. What we're going to be talking about is called type, personality type, and that understanding our differences, that the differences that exist in all people, whether they're 2 years old or 52 years old, are able to help us understand who we are. And if we know who we are, we can manage ourselves better. And we use the word strengths and stretches. If you were going to pick up your pen, what hand would you pick it up with?
My right hand.
Okay. Why would you do that?
I've just always used my right hand. I'm used to it.
Okay. You're used to it. It feels comfortable. That's the side you like. Okay. Your personality has the same. It has a side that it likes better. So we tend to use that side whenever we have a choice. What if you hurt your right hand and you had to use your other hand? What would it feel like?
It'd feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah. But could you do something with it? Could you learn how to write your name or write some numbers with your hand?
I could.
You could. It would take some time and effort, wouldn't it?
It would.
But you could learn. And yet, if you had a choice, which one would you use?
My right hand.
Yeah. Well, your personality is exactly the same. We're going to talk about two different sides, but one is going to be that preferred side that you could just pick up and use, and the other is going to be, we call it the stretch side, the side where you might have to really put some little more effort, a little bit of extra work in order to be effective with it. Okay?
Okay.
But once we know those differences, we're able to handle those differences and use them. And when we understand those differences that exist in ourselves and in other people, then we can know how to appreciate other people for what is their strength, and they can appreciate us for our strength. All right? So let's go ahead then and look at page 4. Okay? So on page 4, it tells us some things we want to keep in mind. We want to make sure that we understand that this information, this personality type information, helps us understand our best way for learning, forming friendships, and organizing our work and our fun. It describes only normal and good differences. So anything you see in this book is only going to be a good thing. It's not about anybody who can do anything wrong or be in trouble. It's only good stuff. But it will help you find your best way for solving problems and working and living with others. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? So those are our strengths and our stretches that we talked about. Our strengths being the side of us that works best for us and easiest for us, and the stretch side, the one we use when we need to, but might have to work a little bit harder to make it work. Okay. So on page 6, all types are smart. So one type can't be smarter than another. All types can make mistakes. So everybody can goof up sometimes, and all types can do a good job. What's important to remember is just because we know what your type is, your personality, your preferences, it does not mean we know what you're going to do, or what you're going to think, or what you're going to say. You still have total choice about that. And that's all part of your ability to make your own choices about what you want to do, think, or say. But it will tell us where you get your energy. And that energy, that natural way, when you just said, oh, I don't know, it just feels better to do it that way, that's the part we're going to be talking about. All right?
Okay.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
All right. So the first activity we're going to do is called I Am a Good Student. And when we do I Am a Good Student, we're looking at two different descriptors of students who are good at being a student. One of them might match you better than the other. So if you look at the first description of I Am a Good Student, in this first pair it says, I really like being with my friends at school and being in the middle of whatever's happening. Teachers like how I quickly volunteer to participate in activities, although I can get into trouble for talking too much. Talking about new learning actually makes ideas clearer for me. I get bored when I have to just sit and listen. Or I could be a good student if I have a small circle of good friends at school and I like spending time with them. In class, I appreciate time to read and think. I answer when I'm sure of my ideas, but I don't rush to answer if I'm still thinking. Although I enjoy being with groups, I don't want to be the center of attention, especially with people I don't know well. So does that first description of a good student match you, or does that second description of a good student match you better?
The second one.
The second one seems better for you? So take your pen, if you don't mind, honey, and just circle that description. Okay, cool. We can do that, or if we want, we could just circle the picture that goes with it. All right,
Okay.
so let's go and look at another set of differences. These, again, are two different ways of being a good student, and you get to decide which one matches you. In the first set, you see our picture of the magnifying glass looking at that very specific piece of information. This good student says, I work best with specific directions. The more information I have, the better I can produce results. I like information presented in order. It's easier to follow. Once I have an idea, I can make a really good project. Coming up with the idea is sometimes hard. Or I can be a good student. Too much information interferes with my creativity. Tell me what you need and let me come up with lots of possibilities. The harder part for me is making the project. Some of my ideas can be complicated. I may not always remember specifics, but I am good at recognizing how one idea relates to another. Sometimes I confuse others because I talk about so many ideas at one time. So what do you think? Do you think you sound more like the person who is looking at the information and loves doing the project more than the idea? Or are you more like the good student who likes to come up with the idea instead of working on the project?
Probably the first one.
The first one? Okay. So just circle our little magnifying glass in it. What was it about that one that you thought was really cool for you?
Well, most of the time I like doing the project more.
Yeah. Well, that can be the fun part, isn't it? All right. Let's look at another set of differences. 2 other ways of being a good student. This time the one with the puzzle says, school is exciting when I feel challenged. I want to learn from those who know their subject best. I can define the problem and think of ways to solve the problem, whether it's in math or in literature. If I think I'm right, I will try to convince others to think my way. I tend to tell the truth as I see it, and sometimes people take it the wrong way. I know what I do well, and I know what I still need to learn. Or are you the good student who says, school is exciting when people work together in friendly and cooperative ways. I like a classroom that encourages each of us to become the best we can be and offers help when we need it. I'm willing to help others who need it. I'm able to tell people information without hurting their feelings. I appreciate getting positive feedback from the teacher about my work. Which one of those 2 is the kind of good student that you would think you are?
The second one.
Second one? And what did you like about that description?
Well, the part where it says I appreciate getting positive feedback from the teachers about my work.
That feels good to you?
Yes.
Yeah. What happens when you don't get that from a teacher?
I just try it again.
Oh, really? And what if you still didn't get any?
I just keep trying.
Oh, wow. Very nice. Go ahead and circle that answer for us. Great. So we have one more pair of good students. The first good student has our arrows going in a singular direction. And that good student says, I like to know what is expected each day so I can be prepared. Pacing my work so I'm not working at the last moment is a skill I do naturally. I get my assignments done so I have time to spend with my friends. Silliness in class can be a distraction when I'm trying to work. Or are you a good student who has arrows going kind of in many directions? And that good student says, I like the element of surprise, and I like when we change our school routine and do something different. Most of my work is produced at the last moment because I get this surge of energy that helps me do my best. I think about it all along, but I finish it when it's due. Blending fun and work makes me more efficient, so I like a classroom where a bit of fun is encouraged while we work. Do you see one of those being more like you than the other?
The second one.
The second one sounds more like you?
Yes.
And what part of the second one sounded cool for you?
Well, I like having fun while doing my work.
Do you? And what does that fun look like for you?
Probably thinking, like, different ways to do the problem.
Oh.
Like, try it with blocks or with colors,
Okay.
color-coded.
Yeah. So it may not be with playing with friends or doing things with friends. It could be just playing with ideas with the task.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, go ahead and circle that one. Beautiful. Okay, so if we look at the next page, it helps us remember that we know that there are a lot of ways you can do a job well. There are many ways that you can be part of a team and do a good job with a team. There are many ways we can talk with others and make our ideas clear. There are many ways to design new ideas. There are a lot of ways to make our ideas work. But what we want to do is use this information about our personality so we can work well with others, we can use our energy best, and we can appreciate other people for their differences so long as it works for them. Before we start this next section, I want to give you a challenge here. If I gave you a list of words, I want you to think of a couple of titles that we could give that group of words. So the first set of words might be horse, cow, dog, and pig. What would be a good title for that collection of words?
Farm animals.
Farm animals would be a great title. Can you give me another one?
Just animals.
Animals would be a great title. How about one more?
I don't think I can come up with another one.
Okay, you like your first two best. Okay. Let me give you another set of words. Apple, orange, banana, and strawberries.
Fruits.
Fruits is a great title. What's another title?
Juicy fruits.
They are juicy, aren't they? Okay, and can you think of a third title for this one?
Food.
Food. Excellent. A long time ago, there was a man named Carl Jung, and he did that exact same thing. But what he looked at was a list of characteristics that people use when they're learning and when they're doing things with others. And under that list of characteristics, he said, I'm going to give these a title. And the title words I'm going to use, and he gave them to us. So these are title words that we're going to look at, and some of them may be words you've never heard before. Okay? The first pair of title words that we're going to look at are called extroversion, and then on the second bottom one, the introversion. Okay? So what we're going to do is look at some of these descriptions, and you decide which one you think sounds more like you. Those who prefer extroversion like working with many friends, like talking out loud so they can think better, sometimes get tired when they have to listen for a long time. When they are embarrassed or hurt or angry, they want to talk about it with somebody. They get energy by doing. They act and then go, oh, okay. And they're eager and ready to try out new ideas. And those who prefer introversion are people who say, I like working on my own or with a few others. I like thinking inside. And after the ideas clear inside their mind, then they want to share it and tell other people. They can get tired by doing things. So if they've worked hard all day with people, they go, okay, time for a break. And they just would like to have a little bit of time alone to get their energy back. When they are hurt or angry or upset, it's real hard to talk about it right then. They want to think about it for a while first, and then they'll talk about it. So they get their energy by doing something alone, and they like to think things through and then do what they need to do. Sometimes if it's a brand new situation or a brand new idea, they'll kind of hesitate and wait. And then once they know everybody or once the idea is in their head, then they want to tell everybody or share, but initially they want to hesitate. Both are wonderful people in wonderful ways of working in the world. But do you see yourself more using an extroverted style or more of an introverted style?
An introverted style.
More introverted style. So you would go ahead and put a check mark by the picture of the introverted style. And what part of that sounded right for you?
Well, sometimes I like working with a couple of people, and sometimes just by myself.
Yeah.
I don't like working with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I like hesitating, or I'm used to it before, like with a new idea or a new thought.
That makes it comfortable for you.
Yes.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, let's look at another pair of title words that Carl Jung gave us. This time the title words are called sensing or intuition. And those who prefer sensing, if you look at the picture, love getting a lot of good information. The more information they have, the better it feels for them to understand the idea. So they like to have multiple examples, and they like to have complete directions. They don't want the teacher to just say, make a project, anything you want. They're like, They'd rather the teacher say, you can do a project, and the project needs to be done in 4 days, and the project needs to include at least 4 paragraphs about what you did, and it needs to include at least 1 illustration. And when they have those specific examples, it makes it a clearer task, and they're able to do a better job. They like doing the work more than coming up with the ideas. And they like things in order, so that when you're teaching them, they like to say, what's the first step, what's the second step, what's the third step, what's the fourth step? And if I can have all of the steps, then I can follow things and get the job done well. And the last thing is they love doing things. To learn, it's important for them to be able to practice and use it. Okay? When we look at the next picture of those trees, they kind of look a little different, don't they?
They do.
Well, those trees are because people who prefer intuition like to design things, and they like to do it slightly different. They like taking a very unique, different approach. And so they want the teacher to only give that vague direction of go do a project, because then they say, oh, I can get to do it whatever way I want. They like to know what the main idea is, but sometimes they get tired of listening to all the details. And so they go, well, I can look that up later if I need to. And for them, the fun part is coming up with the idea. When they have to make the project, then they're just like, oh, that's my stretch side. That's the work side for some. Okay? They look for just a couple of examples. And once they get 1 or 2 examples, if they think they understand, they don't want to hear anymore. Whereas the person with the sensing preference says, oh, I like that example. And here's another good example. And sometimes they have trouble because they have an idea in their head that is so grand that they imagine creating this sandcastle with hundreds of turrets and all kinds of castle-y things going on. But in the box of sand that they have, it's hard to make because their idea is broader than what they're able to produce. Okay. So are you more of the person who likes information and is able to really do the project and have fun doing the project? Or are you the kind of person who likes generating the ideas, coming up with the ideas, but struggles more with getting the project done?
Probably the first one.
The first one sounds right for you. So if that's the case, go ahead and put a check mark by that picture. And tell us a little bit again about why that one sounds good for you.
Well, I like that the teacher tells what to do when it's due. And I don't like coming up with the ideas very much.
That's not the fun part of the job, huh? So when you have to come up with ideas, what is your plan? How do you make that work for you?
Well, I get a couple ideas, then I just choose out of them, see which one works best.
Perfect. Very good. So we have one other set of differences, and the title words this time are thinking and feeling. And they're kind of funny words because sometimes people go, only this one thinks and only this one feels, but that isn't true. Everybody thinks and everybody feels. Those were just the title words that Dr. Jung thought were cool, and so we go along with those. When we look at those who have a preference for thinking, what they like to do is they say, I want a personal challenge. I want to say to myself, I can run 10 yards today. I can run 10 miles today. And they make whatever their challenge is just for them, and then they want to try and beat it. And then they want to try and make a new challenge and try and get that one done. So it becomes important for them to always set new goals that they can try and do well. They love to know why. And so they ask why a lot. And they need to understand why in order to follow along with the program or the task. So if they don't understand why somebody is doing something on their group or their team, they might go, well, why do we have to do that? Why is that important? And they aren't being trying to be challenging. They're just trying to truly know what's going on. They tend to be very direct, so they'll tell people the truth. And sometimes people will hear that in the wrong way. So if they were going to be real direct with me, they might say something like, that isn't a very pretty color on you. And others might say, oh, that might hurt her feelings. Don't say that. But what they're telling is the truth. So if it's not a very good color for me, I have a choice. I can go change and put on a different color. So they tell the truth as a way of helping their friends know what's the best choice to make. They love to solve problems. That's why you have the puzzles. They like to say, what can I do? How can I fix that? What needs to be done in order to make that right? They work very hard to be the best, and they're independent. They like to do things on their own so they know they can do it as well as they can. And they like to use analysis. They like to use logic to try to understand things. One of the things they're really good at is they are really good at seeing what's wrong first and then what's right. So they just might say, like, well, you have a little bump in your shirt, but everything else about you is beautiful. But they notice what's wrong only, and they tell you so that you can fix it and make it right. Those who prefer the feeling preference tend to say they love cooperating with others. They love trusting others, and they want to help others, and they want others to help them in good ways. And they're sensitive to the feelings of others. So they might not say, oh, that's not a good color on you. They might say, that's a pretty jacket, but do you have some others that might be nice too? As a kind of soft way of telling me that it's not a good color. They work hard to do their best, and they make decisions that are based on what's important to them. So if they had a friend who wasn't a really good player on the team, like they might play volleyball in PE, but they thought it was important to have their friend be on the team with them, they wouldn't care about that. They would say, come on, you join us, because it was important to them that they help their friend rather than be the best team that could be on the field. Okay. And they like people to get along. They want people to tell them when they're doing a good job. And when somebody doesn't tell them, it becomes upsetting for them. They like some feedback, which is what I loved what you said earlier about, well, I just keep trying until they give it to me. And what they're good about is they notice what is right first and then what is wrong. So both types notice what is right and both types notice what is wrong. But it's which one did you notice first? Okay. So do you see yourself more as the problem solver who wants to ask why and who notices what's wrong? Or do you see yourself as the people person who wants to help others and is looking for all that cooperation and feedback with others?
Probably the second one.
Probably the second one? Okay. Go ahead and put a check mark by that one. And do you have a reason why that one sounds good for you?
Well, like before, I just keep trying, and I don't really like to judge other people.
You like to get that spirit of harmony working together. Well, we have one more set to look at. And this time the title words were called judging and perceiving. Kind of just random words, okay? What the judging says is, I want to have a plan. And if I make a plan, I want to follow that plan. So if I made a plan to get up, do this, do that, get my work done, finish this so I can then go out with my friends and then do this, they like to be able to do that. And they don't like it if somebody comes in and says, let's do everything different today. Because it's like, well, I was going to get my homework done here on this and I was going to do this. It's kind of an interruption for them. They want to know what's going to happen next. Surprises aren't as much fun unless it's a planned surprise. So if you say Saturday's surprise day, they'd be okay. I can plan to be free for surprises on Saturday. If they have work and they're working on it, they like to get started as soon as it's assigned and keep working on it until it gets done. And if all of a sudden the teacher says, you've only got 1 more minute and they're not anywhere near done, it becomes a scary kind of stress for them because, oh my gosh, am I going to get this able to be finished? They like to get one job done and then do another. So if they have a math project, a science project, an art project, a reading project, they're like, let me just get the math one done first and then I'll do the science. And let me get the science one done, then I'll do this one. And they like to work and then have fun. So as soon as they finish all their work, they get it done as quickly as they can so that they can then go and enjoy the other people or do fun things. But those who like those arrows going in lots of ways say they want to be the ones who change the schedule. They like change. And they want to play around while they're getting the work done. So they might be talking and laughing and kind of being a little bit silly. And then when the teacher says, you've only got 4 more minutes, they're like, okay. But instead of being tense and stressed by that, they're excited and energized by that. They're like, cool. And in the last 4 minutes, they and hurry up and get it all done. And this type goes, how did they do that? But it's because they kind of are thinking about it all along, but they don't actually do the work until it has to be turned in. They like to start a lot of projects. And sometimes they don't have to finish them all. Sometimes they just like starting some. And it isn't as important to them if they finish all of them. They like to keep their options open. And so they like to stay kind of flexible. Where do you see yourself more? Are you the planner who likes to follow their plan? Or are you the one who says, no, I can just change around as I want?
Probably the planner.
The planner? So go ahead and put a check mark by that icon. And as a planner there, what else about that piece sounded pretty cool to you?
Well, I get sort of stressful when I only have like a couple minutes left.
Not a good stressful, huh? And it's that when you go, no, give me more time. Let's go on then. And what we're going to do now is we're going to compare how your choices were. And then I'll show you your results from the questionnaire. We can look back in your booklet if you want. But when you did the I Am a Good Student activity, which one did you choose? Did you choose the picture with several fish or the fish by itself?
The fish by itself.
Okay. You remember or do you need to look?
I remember.
Okay. Go ahead and circle that one for you. And for that I Am a Good Student, did you choose the microscope? Not microscope. What is that? Yeah, microscope, isn't it?
My magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. There it is. It's like I knew my word was wrong, but I all of a sudden couldn't remember the right word. Or did you choose the designed trees?
The magnifying glass.
Okay, go ahead and circle that one. And for the I Am a Good Student, did you choose the puzzle or the people?
The people.
Okay, go ahead and circle that one. And for the I Am a Good Student, did you choose the straight lines or the kind of squiggly lines?
The squiggly ones, I think.
Okay, you want to look back and see?
Yes.
Not on the check marks, the other one.
Oh, okay.
There you are.
The squiggly
Yes,
lines.
you did choose the squiggly ones. Okay. All right. So now here we're going to see what you did with the check marks. When you did the check marks, did you choose extroversion or introversion?
Introversion.
Okay, so go ahead and draw a circle around that. And did you choose sensing or intuition?
I think I chose sensing.
Okay, do you want to check or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sensing.
Mm-hmm. And for thinking or feeling?
I think I have to check back in the book.
Okay.
Feeling.
And judging or perceiving?
Judging.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to look at your results from the questionnaire that you completed. Okay. And this tells us that when you answered the questions, you also chose introversion. So go ahead and circle introversion. And you chose sensing. And you answered most of your questions in those directions. You chose feeling. You answered almost all the questions in that direction. And you chose judging. And you answered almost all of the questions in that direction. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say, based on that, let's see which ones you think might be the best answer for you. For the E and the I, the extroversion and introversion, you chose introversion, introversion, and introversion. So pretty consistent, weren't you? Are you comfortable with thinking that introversion might be what's right for you?
Yes.
Okay. So in this box, go ahead and write the I for introversion. Okay. Then let's look at it. You chose sensing, the sensing, And the sensing. So are you comfortable having sensing as your choice?
Yes.
And on the thinking and feeling, you chose feeling and feeling and feeling. A great amount of consistency, huh? So you're comfortable with that one also then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on the judging and perceiving, you chose perceiving and judging and judging. So you have to decide then, of those two choices, am I more that planful kind of person or am I more that spontaneous person? Am I more that one who gets their work done early so they don't feel the stress of the day, which would be judging? Or do I like having that last minute rush?
Probably the judging.
Probably the judging. Now you have a choice. If you want, you can put judging down, or if you want to say, I'm still not sure, you can wait. What do you want to do?
Judging.
You want to pick judging? Okay. So you're selecting that ISFJ, and ISFJ is also what you had as your reported type. That's pretty cool. So let's go ahead then, and for a moment, I'm going to let you follow along, and that'll be yours to take home, and I'll just follow along. And it's going to remind us that each person's going to have a better way to learn, to make their ideas clear, to make friendships, and to organize their work and play. And your way is what's your strength, and that other way might be your stretch side. Okay? So, when you understand all of those, they're going to help you with your relationships. And so let's go to the next page. And just remember then that all types are smart, all types make mistakes, and all types do a good job. And that you still get to choose your behavior. So even if I know you prefer ISFJ, I don't know what you're going to think today. I still have to talk with you, and you get to decide if you want to use your strength side or you want to use your stretch side. So that makes it why we people can say, you have to do what I get to decide each time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move you ahead, and for one moment, take you to page, it's up here at the top, page 7. It has the boxes on it. There we go. So this says what you answered the questions. And when you answered the questions, your results were I, S, F, and J. And this says which one you decided was true for you. And do you remember what you said? What?
ISFJ.
Yeah. So go ahead and circle the letters for the ones that you said were true for you. And that way now, if somebody said, well, which one is right? We know what you answered from the questions, but we also know what do you think is right. Look at the next page. And so on this next page, it says that ISFJ, those 4 letters added together make up a special combination. And that special combination says these are things you will typically have as your strengths. And these will things that might mean you have to work a little bit harder. So let's just kind of scan those bullets on top. And it says you take responsibility and do the job. You're considerate as you work with others. You have a good sense of what others need at the moment. You can make up rules and plans to help others get their job done. You use your collection of facts to support a team's ideas. You work to create harmony and cooperation on a team. And you respect rules and plans that make classrooms work efficiently. You think that would be true for you? Is there one there especially that sounds good for you?
Take responsibility and do the job.
Yeah, that's true for you. Okay. And then what it says is people with this preference, typically this would be true for them, but you have to decide if it's true for you. That it would be harder for you if you have to work on a lot of projects at the same time. That if you have to work with people when they're arguing. That if you work in a classroom that feels disorganized. that if you have to function in places where rules keep changing every day or often, and if you have to listen to a lot of criticism or never feel appreciated. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you had that kind of place to be, you'd have to really pull up some extra energy, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Which one of those would be hardest for you to deal with, do you think?
Listen to criticism or feel unappreciated.
That would make it hard, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So it's going to be important for you to find a teacher who takes the moment to say, Scotland, it's a delight to have you in my classroom. And I hope that's the kind of teacher you get to meet next year. Will you have one teacher or multiple teachers?
Multiple teachers.
Oh. So you might have a mixture.
Yeah.
You might have a classroom where a teacher does that well, and you might have a classroom where a teacher forgets to do that, huh? Okay. So if you had a teacher who forgot to do that, you might even be able to say to them, oh, I just love when you let me know I've done a good job. Kind of give them a hint about what would work for you. Okay. The rest of your report is just giving you some suggestions about what you might do with people or with learning. And so I'm not going to go over all of that, but that'll be for you to take home and read at your leisure if you want, or to look back at on another time and tell us more about it. So if you were going to leave today and say, here's what I hope the world remembers most about me, because here's what I discovered about me that was the best part, what would you say?
Not really sure what I'd say.
Because there's a lot of choices, aren't there?
There are.
So that was a pretty broad question, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So if I said, what is the best part of your feeling side? The part that is focused with people, what would you say?
Not really sure what I'd say.
It's still a broad question. huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you can remember about yourself from today's talk?
I'd take responsibility and do the job.
Okay. Anything else?
ISFJ.
And what is that for you?
My personality.
Yeah. Because it matches what you think is true for you. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if somebody says, yeah, but what's ISFJ mean? What would you be able to say then?
It's what matches me.
Okay, it's what matches you. And they might want to know a little bit of descriptions. Like they might say, well, what does an introvert like? And what does a sensing person like? And if you forget that information, you've got a little booklet that can maybe help you with that. Okay? So I hope this helps you, and I hope that you're able to use some of this to know yourself better. Do you think your sister is like you or different from you?
Different.
Different from you. So she might have one of these other styles. And then it would be nice to say, oh, okay, here I thought she was just trying to annoy me, but she just has a different style than mine. And you can figure out a better way to be with her, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions for me, Scotland?
I don't.
You don't? All right. Well, thank you so much for spending the afternoon. It's been a lot of fun talking with you.